Hello everyone, welcome back to Applied Linguistics 1. In today's video, we are going to resume our discussion of applied linguistics. We are going to see mainly how applied linguistics has turned to applied linguistics of language teaching. Well, previously we have established that applied linguistics has undergone two main phases. The first phase was when applied linguistics was mainly seen as linguistics applied or applications of linguistics, and it was characterized by the belief that applied linguistics should limit itself to using or applying knowledge and theories of linguistics to solve language-related real-world problems. The second phase was that of applied linguistics being considered as an interdisciplinary field which combines knowledge and theories of linguistics with knowledge and theories from other fields such as psychology, sociology, computing, philosophy, and others, to state but a few, to solve real-world problems involving language. We have concluded that interdisciplinary applied linguistics has given rise to many subfields such as psycholinguistics, sociolinguistics, computational linguistics, multilingualism, second language acquisition, and forensic linguistics, to name but a few. Today, many of these subfields have declared their independence from applied linguistics and consider themselves as separate fields of study with their own scholarly journals, international conferences, and worldwide associations. In what follows, we will see the main reasons why these subfields have decided to claim their independence from applied linguistics. In fact, there are two main reasons behind this shift. The first one is related to the fact that some of these subfields do not present problems in the least technical form of the word. In fact, applied linguistics deals with solving real-world problems involving language. But when we look at multilingualism, bilingualism, and second language acquisition, we find that they are not problems to be solved or eliminated. They are social and cognitive phenomena that need to be explained in order to help us understand how the human mind operates to learn or acquire a language. The second reason is related to the applied linguists who do not feel comfortable working with many disciplines. They feel that they are a jack of all trades who has to know a little bit of every other field of study. They need to be knowledgeable of theories in sociology, psychology, philosophy, computing, speech therapy, etc. Thus, applied linguists end up knowing a little bit of everything without developing their expertise, because it is actually impossible to be an expert in all of these fields. For this reason, applied linguists prefer to specialize in one subfield and become expert in that particular subfield. Therefore, they consider themselves either a sociolinguist, a psycholinguist, a researcher in multilingualism, or a second language acquisition expert. Applied linguists also feel that they are powerless when it comes to implementing their findings or solutions to the problems. In fact, the applied linguists do not have the authority to put their solutions into practice directly in the real world. When the applied linguist designs a new teaching method, they do not apply it in school. Rather, they need to suggest it to the Ministry of Education, who will decide to adopt the new method or not. The same thing happens when the applied linguists find a solution to a speech problem. They suggest it to the speech therapist or the speech doctor, who will decide to use it or not. Thus, applied linguists are mainly advisors and counselors who only suggest solutions to problems, and it's up to the authorities to apply these solutions. The other reason why applied linguists feel the need to specialize in one single area is that they often feel overwhelmed with too many problems to the extent that they do not have the required resources to deal with all of these problems in terms of time, effort, and logistics. Thus, applied linguists spend most of their time describing problems. But description does not solve the problem. Description should be followed by analysis, experimentation, evaluation, and application of the solution. That's why applied linguists need to focus on one single area so that they would do more than just describe real-world problems involving language. So, nowadays, the unique selling point of applied linguistics is that of language teaching. After most of the subfields have grown independent from applied linguistics, all what is left for applied linguistics has to do with language teaching. That's why nowadays it is called applied linguistics of language teaching. Applied linguistics of language teaching is that branch of applied linguistics that is concerned with examining real-world problems related to language teaching. Three main principles characterize this branch and distinguish it from other subfields of applied linguistics, psychology, and education. The first principle is that applied linguistics of language teaching must include the element of language. Any study or research that doesn't involve language content or a language element cannot be counted as applied linguistics of language teaching. For instance, a study of motivation among learners seems to be pure psychology, but a study of motivational strategies in learning vocabulary is actually counted as applied linguistics of language teaching because it involves the element of language, which is that of vocabulary. The second principle is that there must be a language theory involved in the study or research, though it need not always be that of linguistic origin. For instance, studying motivational strategies for learning vocabulary using only a theory of motivation is not enough. There must be a theory of vocabulary learning as well. Thus, applied linguistics of language teaching requires interdisciplinary theoretical frameworks that combine both language theories and non-language theories to solve language teaching related problems. The third principle is that there must be a direct link between what is being investigated or studied and language teaching. The researcher has to demonstrate that the theory which they are adopting from a non-linguistic field has a direct application or a strong implication for language teaching. Otherwise, the research that they are conducting would not fit in applied linguistics of language teaching. In other words, if a researcher is using a theory from psychology or from sociology, they must demonstrate that this particular theory has direct implications or direct application to language teaching. If the theory does not have a direct implication or application to language teaching, the whole research is not considered as part of applied linguistics of language teaching. Over the years, applied linguistics of language teaching has created a strong bond with linguistics as a source of language-related theories and psychology as a source of non-linguistic theories. The choice of these two disciplines is not random. It emanates from a conviction that linguistics provides explanations for language, while psychology provides insights into how the human mind learns. By combining theories from linguistics and psychology, applied linguistics of language teaching aims at providing enlightened explanations of how the human mind learns languages, and thus we can design effective language teaching methodologies accordingly. Nevertheless, it's not always easy to do research in applied linguistics of language teaching. There are several challenges that face the researcher in this process. In fact, there are two main challenges that can be considered as inherent limitations to applied linguistics of language teaching. The first one is a false belief in the universality of solutions offered by the applied linguistics of language teaching. That is to say, applied linguists have always assumed that solutions to language teaching problems can be applied to contexts all over the world. It was wrongly believed that a language teaching method that was developed in America, Australia, England, or Canada can work perfectly well for Morocco, or in Nigeria, or in China. They always overlook that language teaching methods or any other solutions applied linguistics of language teaching may propose are bound to their original context. They would not work in contexts which are socially and culturally different because they represent a different value system which may hold biased relationships of power within their cultural context. For instance, modern Western communicative language teaching methodologies are designed around a model where the teacher is an organizer, a guide, and a facilitator who lost their authority over the students. In Eastern cultures, where the teacher is seen as a wise person who knows everything, the Western methodologies may not work if the teacher loses their authority. It is therefore safe to say that applied linguistics of language teaching is not culturally innocent or ideologically neutral. The other issue that makes applied linguistics of language teaching so not universal has to do with power and politics. For instance, the choice of language to be taught is absolutely political. In Morocco, for instance, the government still insists on teaching French as a second language, although French has lost its prestige on the international scale only because of political, post-colonial, and new colonial reasons. Another example is that of English and Chinese, which are gaining more territory in the international arena because of the economic and military power of the United States and China. Arabic too is gaining importance because of its religious power. Thus, the choice of the language to be taught and learned is not innocent once again. It has to do with the political, economic, and religious power associated with such languages. The last problem that stands on the way of a universal applied linguistics of language teaching is known as the native speaker conundrum. Language teaching has always put a great importance on idealizing the native speaker of the language being taught. The problem is that there is not only one single native speaker of a language. There are many native speakers with differences in accents, cultures, and identity. For instance, in teaching of English as a foreign language, most methods, teachers, and teaching materials, including textbooks, idealize either the American or the British native speakers and ignoring other native speakers such as Australian, Irish, Scottish, Canadian, and Indian English language speakers. Thus, the choice of the native speaker is not as objective as it may seem. It is also governed by biased and subjective criteria of status, power, and politics. The second challenge that applied linguistics of language teaching confronts is the absence of details. Over the years, language teachers have been complaining that applied linguists do not provide detailed explanations of what teachers should teach and how they should teach it in their actual classrooms. Applied linguists have been concerned with designing teaching methods that offer general guidelines to all teachers over the world, but they have failed to give them specific details of how to apply these guidelines in their own specific language teaching situations. Applied linguists have ignored that every teacher has a particular teaching context that differs from the others, and that if one method or technique or strategy works well For an American teacher, it may not work for a Moroccan, Chinese, or Spanish teacher. No one can deny that applied linguistics of language teaching has done such tremendous work in improving the teaching and learning of second and foreign languages all over the world. Yet, certainly, applied linguistics of language teaching needs to change in order to meet the expectations of the 21st century world, which is becoming more conscious about issues of globalization, multiculturalism, cultural hegemony, and identity construction. Applied linguists should also take into consideration the role of language teaching in promoting awareness about relationships of power, dominance, and subjectivity. To overcome several of the problems that we have mentioned previously, the following solutions are suggested.